Let me just pull up my presentation. Perfect. All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second part of our cohort. Today, we're going to be talking about digital sales funnels. So the main topics that we are going to cover today are, first and foremost, establishing your foundation. And then we're going to go into what is a digital sales funnel. We'll cover the 3 stages of the funnel, and then go over how to create your own sales funnel, and then end with tips to optimize. And of course, like the previous class, at the end, we will have time for questions. Okay. So of course, before we can begin to build our digital sales funnel, we have to establish our foundation. And this is where we tie in all of the things that we learned from last class about our target market identification and our customer segmentation. So of course, before you can begin to build out your digital marketing sales funnel, you first must conduct research and build a strategy to ensure maximum efficiency is achieved with your sales funnel. So yesterday we had talked about being goal driven when we plan to optimize and when we plan to segment. And this is a framework that I like to use, and it's called SMART goals. So SMART is a management tool that's used by most marketers and professionals across different industries to set specific, measurable, and attainable goals. And this is to ensure that whatever digital marketing project or campaign that you are running has a best chance of success. So writing down SMART goals is similar to creating a vision board, but with added benefit of having numbers to measure the achievability of this vision. It helps to provide a roadmap to success for digital marketers who are constantly working on one thing after another. So SMART breaks down into 5 different categories, and the first category is specific. So you want to make sure that your goal is clear and specific. Otherwise, you won't be able to focus your efforts or truly feel motivated to achieve it. Next, it needs to be measurable. It's important to have measurable goals so that you can track your progress and stay motivated. Assessing progress helps you to stay focused, meet your deadlines, and feel the excitement of getting closer to achieving this goal. Next, it needs to be achievable. Your goal also needs to be realistic and attainable to be successful. While we can be as creative as possible and think of these really great strategies and ideas and campaigns, we want to make sure that whatever we're aiming for is achievable considering our resources, our funds, and our team's skill set. Next, it needs to be relevant. So this step is about ensuring that the goal matters to you and that it aligns with other relevant goals that you've set for your business. We all need support and assistance in achieving our goals, but it's important to retain control over them. And lastly, probably the most important part of the SMART goal is time bound. So every goal needs a target date. Of course, if we don't set a target date of when we want to complete or meet this goal by, it can go on and you'll continue to push it back. Every goal does need a target date, and that's so that you have a deadline to focus on and something to work towards. This part of the SMART goal criteria helps to prevent everyday tasks from taking priority over your long-term goals. So to break it down even further, when setting a goal, be specific about what you want to accomplish. Think about this as the mission statement for your goal. This isn't a detailed list of how you're going to meet that goal, but it should include an answer to these popular questions. So first, who? Who's involved? Consider who needs to be involved to achieve the goal. This is especially important when you're working on a group project, considering that this goal that you're trying to reach could consist of multiple departments and multiple different people. Next is going to be what? What do I want to accomplish? Think about exactly what you're trying to accomplish and don't be afraid to get very detailed. The more detailed, the better. 3 is where. Where is it located? This question may not always apply, but if there's a location or relevant event, identify that here. Which resources or limits are involved? So you're going to want to determine any related obstacles or requirements. This question can be beneficial in deciding if your goal is realistic. For example, if the goal is to open a baking business, but you've never baked anything in your life, that might be an issue. So as a result, you might refine the specifics of the goal and actually set the goal to be learn how to bake in order to open a baking business. And the last question, why? Why is this goal important? What is the reason for the goal? And when it comes to using this method for employees, the answer will likely be along the lines of company advancement or career development. But in terms of you being a business owner, why is this goal important to achieving your overall end goal? Next is measurable. So with more tools at your disposal than you can count, measuring any goal that's set by you or your team is as convenient as a touch of a button. So including a target for your goal can help your team assess how much effort they need to put into a tactic. However, if you can't measure it, maybe due to a lack of tools available or skills on hand, then this may not be a meaningful goal to work towards. So what metrics are you going to use to determine if you've met your goal? This is what makes the goal tangible because it provides a way to measure your progress. If it's a project that's going to take a few months to complete, then maybe you might want to set some milestones by considering specific tasks that you'd like to accomplish. Milestones would be a series of steps along the way that when you added them all up, the result would be the completion of your main goal. So a measurable goal should address questions such as how much, how many, what is my indicator of progress, and how will I know when this is accomplished? So as the M in SMART states, there should be a source of information to measure or determine whether your goal has been achieved. The M part of the SMART goal is a direct indicator of what success for the particular goal should look like. Sometimes measurement is difficult and you may need to work together with different departments to bring together the most relevant data, and then from there you folks can work together to define what that data means and what that means towards your goal. For measurement methods, these can be both quantitative and qualitative. So productivity results, money saved or earned, and then also qualitative client testimonies or surveys. Next in the SMART goal is the A, so achievable. Digital marketing does not guarantee success simply because you can measure an outcome. So setting an attainable goal that is well within a realistic boundary ensures that you're not inadvertently setting yourself up for disappointment. An often used way to do this is by establishing benchmarks for chosen KPIs, which are key performance indicators. And this focuses on how important a goal is to you and what you can do to make it attainable. And it may require developing a new skill and changing attitudes, but the goal is meant to inspire motivation, not discouragement. Think about how to accomplish the goal and if you have the tools or skills needed to accomplish the goal. And if not, consider what would it take to attain those skills. Next, relevant. So relevance refers to focusing on something that makes sense with broader business goals. So for example, if the goal is to launch a new program or service, it should be something that's in alignment with the overall business and department objectives. So your team may be able to launch a new program, but if your division is not prioritizing launching that type of new program, then the goal wouldn't be relevant. So a relevant goal can answer yes to these following questions. First, does this seem worthwhile? Is this the right time? Does this match our other efforts and needs? Am I the right person to teach this goal? And is it applicable in the current socioeconomic environment? And of course, last but not least, time bound. So anyone can set goals, but if it lacks realistic timing, then chances are you probably will not succeed at this goal. Providing a target date for deliverables is imperative. You want to ask specific questions about the goal deadline, what can be accomplished within that time period. If the goal will take 3 months to complete, it's useful to define what should be achieved halfway through this process. Providing time constraints also creates a sense of urgency within yourself and in your team. So a time-bound goal will usually answer this set of questions. When do I need to complete this? What can I do 6 months from now? What can I do 6 weeks from now? And what can I do today? So once we go through that process, we answer all those questions and we fine tune our goal, we can come out and compute a SMART goal. And once we've identified what our goal is, we can then move on to identifying our target market and building our customer persona. And this is what we went over last class. So that's clearly identifying who your target market is and who actually makes up that market. You're going to want to create detailed descriptions of someone who represents your ideal client within your target audience. And this persona, while fictional, is based on deep research of your existing or desired audience. So again, I just want to reiterate the differences between target and persona. So of course, your target audience is a much more broad definition. It doesn't tell us too much about the audience's buying habits or behaviors. And it doesn't really refer to anyone in specific, so it's much more of a generalization. And then our persona, of course, is a very specific definition of the type of person that exists within this target audience. They have specific characteristics. They're an ideal client that you really want to work with, and you understand what their triggers, what their motivators are, and everything in between. So of course, with the target audience, this is the different segmentation models that we can use to identify them. So we have the demographic segmentation, of course, which is age, gender, income, education, and marital status. We have the geographic segmentation, which is country, state, city, and town. Psychographic segmentation, personality, attitude, values, and interests. Technographic segmentation, so mobile use, desktop use, apps, and software. And lastly, behavioral segmentation, so tendencies and frequent actions, feature, product use, and habits of the buyer. Once we've identified who our target audience is and pull out key points from each of these and make our target audience statement, from there we can begin to get more granular and create, of course, that customer persona. So a very detailed look at who you believe is your customer persona, stating all of these different facts that's going to help you and your sales team to be able to really target them within this goal and in the sales funnel. And once you have defined who that customer persona is, you're going to go into, of course, the sales funnel. So this is kind of just a really broad overview of what it would look like. The persona goes into the top of the funnel and makes its way through in each of these different segments. Now, within your target audience, you may have multiple different customer personas that are made up in that, and that's completely fine. And with that, you are going to use that to measure how each customer takes their journey through your digital sales funnel. So here is just a really basic overview of what it would look like between customer A and customer B. So as you can see, customer A reads a blog post, but doesn't sign up for the email from there. So then they continue down the funnel. They see a retargeting ad a week later, then they go back to the blog, then they sign up for your email list, and then they convert. While customer B, when they initially read the blog, they actually sign up for your email. They complete the nurture sequence with no conversion. They read another blog post from an organic search while being on the internet, and then from there, that's when they choose to convert. So this will lead us into the digital sales funnel. So the digital sales funnel, what is it? This is the process of moving someone who knows nothing about your business to becoming a loyal customer that shares their experiences with their friends and their family. So at its most basic level, a sales function covers 3 basic principles. The first is awareness. So getting visitors to your website, attracting them with quality blog posts or through social media. Next would be consideration. So use that great content to entice your new visitors to sign up for your newsletter. You want to be able to capture any type of lead that you are able to on your website. And last is conversion. So now that prospects are familiar with your brand, persuade them to make a purchase by offering a discount code for first-time buyers. So that we covered what a basic look at the funnel is. This is, however, what a digital sales funnel model usually looks like. So it takes the shape of an inverted triangle. It's wide at the top and it's narrow at the bottom. People are going to flow down the funnel as they turn into prospects and then leads. While some eventually convert into paying customers, the majority of them will drop off. So only a small percentage of the people that come through your funnel will actually become a customer and purchase from you. So you need to make sure that you're sending a high volume of traffic through the top of the funnel. One thing to note, however, is once they convert, you're going to want to maintain and re-engage them in new products. So this process is something that's going to continuously repeat. And as time goes on, you'll be able to refine and optimize as you see the data and you see people interacting with your funnel. So at the top of the funnel, your prospecting, we can see this is the awareness phase. So this is where you introduce your brand to a new audience. You find people just like your top customers with lookalike targeting, or use customer personas like we talked about last class, and customer journey to build audience profiles using contextual and demographic criteria. Next, in the consideration phase, intent and conquesting. So be present when potential customers are actively researching your solution, competing brands, or closely related information to build recall and brand association. And then justification and urgency. Close your prospects by offering something of value. When they need it and where they are, consider possible hurdles and make it as easy as possible for them to get what they need so that they can convert. Next, we're going to go into retention and repurchasing. So this is in the nurturing phase. Re-engage hand raisers and new customers with timely, useful offers. Personalize their experience and lead them to become your brand advocates. And that will bring us into expansion. So upselling and audience profiling. Remarket for upsell and cross-sell goals to increase the lifetime value of your customers. New customer data improves lookalike audience accuracy and reach to feed the prospecting start of the funnel. And then, of course, the process will start again. So the funnel can be broken down into 3 segments. So the top of the funnel, which is the awareness, or broken down as tofu. The middle of the funnel, which is the consideration, mofu, or the bottom of the funnel, which is conversion. So these levels build off of each other to nurture leads in order to ultimately lead to a conversion. This funnel provides a basic framework for any organization to start off, but the details will vary greatly based on your buyers. Your top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel stages should be specific to the buyer personas that you set up prior to beginning your sales funnel, which, as we mentioned earlier, it's something you're going to set up in your foundation anyway. You want to make sure that you fully understand who your buyer is and what their pain points are. Only then can you tailor your content for these stages appropriately. So the first stage, top of the funnel. So the higher people are in your sales funnel, the less likely they are to purchase from you. Top of funnel tactics shouldn't be directly related to your products or service, as these people are simply just aware of your business, or maybe they're interested in a topic that your business is currently engaging in. Because this is the awareness stage, of course, this is where you're gonna have your widest and most general audience. You're trying to attract a large pool of people who have a problem and are looking for information about how they could potentially solve this problem. They're Googling things, trying to find answers to questions, and they might not have the intention to buy your product, but they are becoming aware and potentially could be interested. And the purpose of the top of the funnel is, of course, to drive awareness, drive traffic, and drive backlinks. So at this stage of the funnel at the top, this is where you want them to become familiar with your brand and become interested. You can do this by focusing on educational content that doesn't maybe address your product directly, but gives some background information on it, inkling that you have the solution to whatever problem they may be searching for. So you want to forget about commercial intent at this point and focus on problem solving, earning new links, earning new leads. Let your middle and bottom funnel convert your readers into customers. Simply use the top of your funnel just to get people interested. So here we have a few ideas for appropriate content that you can use within the top of your funnel. So of course, social media. Know what channels your buyers are on and focus your efforts accordingly. You can do infographics. Offer visual format to help buyers understand the problem or questions that they're facing. You can begin optimizing your blog. So you're going to want to do your keyword research. This is where SEO comes in. You want to make sure that you are creating content on your website that directly aligns with the keywords that people are searching for and they are relevant to your business. So do your keyword research and create an overview blog post about a certain problem or pain point that's easily found by your buyers. You can in turn also be a guest on somebody else's blog and have them point traffic towards your site as the solution to whatever problem you may be facing. And this way, not only are you capturing a new audience, you are also having somebody direct traffic towards your website, which in turn strengthens your website's domain authority. And that overall will make your site much more visible to users. Next would be video. So videos at this stage should be short and they should address the problem, not the solution. YouTube is great for this and it allows you to create evergreen content. So evergreen content, of course, is something that you can create once and it'll live on. It's something you can reuse in the future. So I really like to focus on building out a lot of evergreen content at this portion because it's something that you can continue to use and you get a lot more bang for your buck. So especially if you may have a smaller marketing budget, it might be good to start off with content that is evergreen. Next would be a quiz. You can learn more about your buyer by asking questions about the problems they may be facing. So this could be something that you implement on your social channels, or maybe it's a quiz that you have on top of your website that customers need to fill out before they actually submit and subscribe to your site. And lastly, you could create an ebook. Create a more in-depth piece on the problem your buyers are facing and the solutions that you have to solve them. Next, we're going to move into the middle of the funnel. So the middle of the funnel, of course, the purpose is to nurture leads and build commercial intent. So at this stage, people are one step closer to converting. They are already interested in your product, so you should begin to nurture them down the funnel with lead magnets. So many consider this to be the most crucial stage of the funnel because now you have a variety of interested leads whom you need to qualify. At this consideration or evaluation stage, people have accepted that they have a specific problem to be solved and now are actively looking for a solution, which means you have a targeted audience. They are researching different options and carefully weighing the value of each, so between you and your competitor. Now you can bring your own product or service into the discussion. Middle of the funnel content should continue to educate, but it should also address why your product or service is the best solution for the customer. Because your leads are warm, take the opportunity to convey how your product or service is the best in comparison to your competitors. This stage is also a good opportunity to offer gated content to gather contact information from your buyers. So here are some middle of the funnel strategies that your business could potentially work on. So the first and foremost could be an online course. So creating a course that people can subscribe to, get the information that they need, but more importantly, understand how to use the information that's just been given to them and apply it to solve the problem that they might have. Next would be a case study. You can help buyers see your product or service in action by demonstrating the benefits that it's provided to another company. Next, you could do a webinar, provide training on a topic, and be sure to leave time for questions. Next, you could create an automated email drip. So create a flow of nurturing emails that offers content specific to the buyer. You could also create a guide or how-to content. Offer step-by-step instructions on how to solve the problem that they're being faced with. And lastly, again, social media. You can craft posts and content geared toward audiences that you are targeting. And lastly, this is going to lead us into the bottom of the funnel. So the purpose of the bottom of the funnel is to close the leads that are currently in your pipeline. The bottom of the funnel is your golden stage. You've now have a narrow audience of highly qualified leads who are ready to buy your product or service. They've done their research and they're interested in your product, but are likely comparing several other options as well. So the right offer can be the nudge they need to make a decision in your favor. Your bottom of the funnel content should showcase your product, demonstrate how it works, show off features, and outline specific benefits that customers would receive from using your product over, say, a competitor. Now is the time to show how your product or service solves their pain point and beats the competition. The bottom of the funnel is, of course, all about pushing interest leads to the decision-making phase. It's going to involve acquisition tactics optimized for buyers and not for search engines. It serves prospects who have already moved way past the awareness stage and have moved on to conversion and loyalty and essentially have become brand advocates. All right. So some strategies that we can focus on in the bottom of the funnel is buyers today, of course, they expect a better experience. You can't resort to cold calling and pressuring buyers, but instead you need to focus on educating and providing resources as they progress logically through your funnel. So here are some types of content that would be great for this section. So of course, first and foremost, maybe a product or service demo. Let buyers see how your product actually works. Whether it's on-site or in a video, showcase features and relate them back to the benefits. Show how you are outperforming your competition. Next is loyalty programs. Reward your buyers for becoming customers. Give them more reasons to continue to spend with you. Next would be maybe a free trial. You won't know until you try. Letting buyers test your product out without making a big commitment shows that not only do you stand by your product and its quality, but you really want to gain their business. And lastly, testimonials and case studies. So customer stories are also valuable in this final stage, as it's content that converts and provides third-party validation of your offering. So the persistence and patience will pay off, and research shows that companies who do lead nurturing will see 50% more sales-ready leads than those leads, and those leads make 47% larger purchases. So now that we went through what the funnel is and what 3 segments make up the funnel, top, middle, and bottom, we're going to go into how you can create your own sales funnel. So if people are purchasing your product or service online, you actually have a marketing funnel whether you know it or not. And if you don't know that you have one, then you have not clearly defined the process that will increase the sales in your business. So people will often say that they rely on word of mouth and referrals. And this is both a good and bad thing at the same time. If your business is growing through strong word of mouth, of course, that means that you must have a really great product or service and people thoroughly enjoy using your business. However, without a sales funnel in place, you're operating your business without any clear principles in place to operate that. In cases like this, you won't know if you have any customers or not, or if you're going to have work for your employees. Selling without a sales funnel makes selling become very tricky, and when you do close a sale, you don't really know how you got that sale, so it kind of becomes a game of luck. This is why you need to create Your sales funnel and the funnel methods or tactics that you deploy will depend based on your business type, price point, and sales cycle. Specifically for this class, we will be focused on creating a sales funnel for e-commerce brands, so anybody that does have a website and is able to sell their product and or service online. So the first thing you're going to look at is price point. So of course, the more expensive your products are, generally, the more inexpensive your products are, generally the fewer steps you're going to need in your funnel to motivate people. The more your product or service costs, the more value you're going to need to create. So of course, if you're somebody who maybe is selling, let's say, stationery packs of pens, and the average price point of your product ranges from $8 to $10, getting your customers to buy isn't going to take as much motivation as someone who may be a car salesman and is selling vehicles that start at $20,000. Your price point, because it's lower, offers less of a financial commitment from your buyers, so it doesn't take as much value or education. Whereas something that is higher in value and cost is going to take a lot more education behind it. And that's not to say that it won't close. It just means that you need to take this into account and work this into your sales funnel. You also want to think about the time in which it takes people to buy your product or service. So what is the current sales cycle that you have? Understand that the longer it takes, you may want to work this into your funnel. So plan to communicate with your leads during this time lapse. So kind of like what we stated with the truck, if you know that, of course, taking or doing any car sales is going to take you 3 months, you're going to want to account for that in your strategies and work that somewhere in the middle of your funnel tactics. Next, you want to establish your buyer journey. So of course, think about your customer's journey, your target audience, and the customer personas that make up that audience. Think about what makes them interested in your product or service and what obstacles deter them from purchasing, as well as the time it takes to overcome these buying resistances. When you craft your sales funnel with this in mind, it will increase your odds of success. You really need to understand what is going on in your customer's mind at every stage of the funnel. When understood and implemented successfully, then you will have a predictable system that will increase your sales. So here is an example company that I will be basing this off of. And I am the owner of a Hawaii-based, all-natural, eco-friendly skincare product line. And my SMART goal for my sales funnel is that I would like to increase my revenue for Q2 by 8%. So I've stated what my goal is. It's achievable. It's measurable because I want to, of course, reach it by the end of Q2. And I've stated the KPI that I need to meet. And of course, I've identified who my target audience is. So my target audience is going to be women 18 to 35 years old who live in Hawaii and are actively seeking eco-friendly skincare options. So a very general overarching view at who our target audience would be. From there, I'm working to develop my customer persona. So of course, I'm gonna name her Eco Ellie. She is 24 years old. She lives in Kapa'a, Hawaii. Her annual income is $70,000. She lives in a multi-generational home. Her favorite hobbies include reading, hiking, and going to the beach. And she's currently enrolled in online schooling through Some reasons why I would like to note any of these things right here. One, her age. So her age, she fits the demographic that I've set in my target audience. She does live in Hawaii. She makes an annual income of $70,000 and lives in a multi-generational home. So from that, I can kind of infer that she does have some income to be able to spend on the products that I'm trying to sell. Her favorite hobbies include reading, hiking, and going to the beach. So the fact that she likes to read inclines that she may be interested in long-form content that I would push out about my product. If she likes to be outdoors, then skincare may be something important. Of course, we all know that we need to take care of our skin when we're out in the sun a lot. And being that she's currently enrolled in online schooling means that there's an opportunity for her to come across my product online. From there, we want to move into a more definitive explanation of who this person is. So she has a deep love for her island and believes that at all costs we should do what we can to minimize waste. As an empowered change maker, she will be a leader in the beauty refiliation, pushing for progress through sustainable consumption, collective activism, and alternative products and systems. So her drivers, she's an eco-optimistic changemaker. She likes to protect the planet through proactive purchasing. So buying from companies who have strong core values, who are eco-friendly and have sustainable practices is what drives her purchasing behaviors. Her beauty behavior, she's likes to be an early adopter of new eco-ethical business models and product alternatives. So from this, I can identify that introducing a new product to her that meets the criteria from her drivers, she's going to be more inclined to want to purchase or try out my product. And she prefers independent or local and community brands, which I stated in the beginning that our company is a Hawaii-based brand. Our products are local, eco-friendly, and sustainable. Some of her buying concerns that I've addressed. She likes to seek sustainable, ethical, and inclusive brands that give back and reduce waste. So noting this part can help within the funnel because it may affect some of the partnerships that I work with. So maybe some of the blogs that I'm doing, maybe any YouTube videos or collaborations on social media will be with other brands that align with these concerns and address these concerns. And lastly, her beauty style. So she prioritizes personal care and skincare over beauty. She favors natural bioactive ingredients rooted in culture and tradition, but science backed. So this is super important to note because this is where I can determine if my product would actually be the right fit for her in her everyday life. Because my skincare line is natural and eco-friendly, it meets a lot of the points that have been stated on here. So now that I have created my buyer persona, I can now send her through the funnel and see how she might react to any of the different stages that I've set up. So here are some strategies that I've developed for my skincare line and sending my customer persona through. So of course, the top of the funnel is to drive awareness. And the way I like to think of the top of the funnel is if you were standing in front of a massive crowd and you were just continuously shouting into the void. Nobody can really hear you yet, but you're shouting your message, shouting your message, and shouting your message. So the first tactic that I think would be really, really beneficial for this is to do blogs. So I would like to work with credible influencers or online sources to drive traffic to my website and endorse my product. So from here, I would create a supporting long form content document that I could send over to an influencer or an online source with high quality photos of my product. I can send this to them with exactly what keywords that I'm trying to target, as well as all of the links that I would like for them to send back to my site. And like I mentioned earlier, so not only will creating direct links to your website help by increasing your traffic, but it will help to increase your website's domain authority. Websites work in the same way as word of mouth. So if you, of course, have a lot of websites who are endorsing your site and saying that your site is a very credible source and knowledgeable source for this specific topic, then it'll help increase the visibility of your website. So it works the same way as word of mouth. And with this, it's also a type of evergreen content. So it's something that you can use time and time again. And it's also something that you can repurpose on multiple channels. You can share it to your social. You can repurpose it on your own website and also share it out to maybe some other websites that would like to pick it up. This is also something that can drive to capture emails. Next, and what I think is a really fun one, and we've seen a lot more people participating in to endorse their product or service, is podcasts. So introducing yourself and your product on maybe a local podcast, or maybe it's just a very large established podcast with a good following, but aligns with the content, the values, and the types of problems that you're solving within your own company. So by introducing myself and my product to these different audiences and having the main person who's doing the interview endorse my product or show interest in my product, it helps to drive their audience over to my product or my site because they're getting a trusted opinion. So they are already a fan of this person's brand and their podcast. And I'm coming in from the outside to share what it is that I have because I feel like they would be interested. The person who's running the podcast, because they have me on, are already showing that they do support my product, they support my brand, and it's something that they felt that they could share with their followers. So from there, their followers can then learn more about my business. And this also works as a type of evergreen content because, of course, with podcasts, not only does it work on different audio platforms, but you can break these down into smaller bits of content for your social media, whether it be your feed or your story posts. And then you can also share this to different YouTube channels as you can record podcasts. And then from there, you're creating more video content as well. So you really want to think of different pieces of content, tactics, and strategies that you can use not only on multiple different platforms, but for multiple different products, services, or educational bits that you may use in the future. With the podcast, most podcasts are generally 30 to 40 minutes long. So in that time, you may be covering maybe 5 of your products. Maybe you're covering 6 different topics. From there, you can actually cut down little bits that just pertain to one product or one service and release that out over time. We really like to push this with our clients because you want to maximize your efforts as much as possible. So think of ways that you can use your content for multiple things. Next, that will lead us into the middle of the funnel. So I mentioned earlier that social media is one way, of course, that we can gain an audience and we can get them to engage and consider us as the best possible solution for whatever problem they're facing. So for social media, this is going to be both organic and paid. So we'll start off with, of course, organic. So this will be anything that you are posting just to your feed or to your story on whatever platform it may be. And for this, you're really going to want to figure out where is your customer, what platforms are they on. So I know a lot of times there is this notion that maybe Facebook could be coming in an outdated platform and not a lot of people are on it. But I would definitely look at your data first and see what platforms people are actually engaging with you most. We are working with a client here. They are a hotel, it's a Sheraton Kauai Resorts, and we were pushing really hard on Instagram because the goal of the customers was to gain more followers on their Instagram. After this first quarter, we met for our quarterly analytics meeting, and we realized that although our following did increase and we reached the KPI that we had set, the engagement rates on their Facebook were just through the roof. And it was something that we had been overlooking in that period of time because we were trying to focus all our efforts on Instagram. So now we're actually going to be working on creating content that's specifically geared towards our audience on Facebook. And that's just to note to not rule out any platforms based on your own personal opinion, but to really look at the data and see what your customers are telling you. So of course, with social media, we want to make sure that anytime we're making a posting that they follow the 3E rules of posting. So first and foremost, are you educating your customers? Are you informing your followers with content to educate them on topics that are relevant to your industry? Next, is it entertaining? Does it show your business culture with content they'll enjoy and also be able to relate and learn about your business in the process? And lastly, is it engaging? Always respond to messages, comments, and questions. But don't stop there. Create polls, surveys, and questions for your followers to engage with frequently. I really, really stress asking yourselves these questions before you begin to post organically on your social media channels. A lot of people feel like they need to just get a post out because they haven't posted in a long time, but your followers will not unfollow you because you don't post a lot. They'll begin to unfollow you if your content is no longer serving them and it's no longer answering any of these 3Es. It's not educating them, it's not entertaining, and it's not engaging. So really, really focus on that. Another tip would be within social media to throw multiple jabs before you ever try to land a hook. So post regularly following this 3E rule. without asking for anything from your buyers. So just simply educating, entertaining, and engaging them. You're not asking them to buy your products. You're not asking them to try out this new quiz. You're just simply there to make enjoyable content for them. You want to keep continuing to deliver superb content and information to your followers. Then you want to engage with them. And then you can deliver a right hook for a striking blow to get those followers to sign up for your offer or enter your funnel. So you want to be able to give, and then when you ask, your buyers are ready to receive whatever it is that you're asking for. And last but not least, you want to make sure that you brand every post within your company. So you'd like to include your logo, if it makes sense, in most of the content that you post. You can make it subtle but well defined. And you also want to make sure that you have very strict brand standards that have been set out for your company. So even down to the nitty gritty, making sure that all the fonts that you use are the ones that you're going to use for your business. So you have a header font, you have a subheader font, and a body font. And you don't want to stray out and use any other fonts aside from those 3 that you may have established. You want to make sure that you have a really strong color palette, both a primary color palette that matches your logo and a secondary color palette that supports it. Color theory is extremely huge in attracting people to your brand. So that's something you really want to focus on, making sure that all of the content that you create, it's well branded. And of course, maybe depending on the platform that you're on, the message can be crafted in a different way so that audience may be more receptive. Say you have an older audience that you're reaching on Facebook versus a younger audience that you might be targeting on Snapchat or Instagram. But you want to make sure that all of the content that you're creating is memorable and it's recognizable, and it's something that even if I see you on Instagram and then I go to your website, or I see a brochure somewhere about your company, all of the branding looks the same. You definitely don't want to use different fonts, colors, and even different types of imagery just throughout all different types of platforms, because if people are having a hard time recognizing and understanding who your brand is, it's going to make them question your product or service. If they don't see a consistent brand, they may think, oh, is their product inconsistent? Is this something I can trust? Is this a different company? So you want to make sure that you're continuously following those brand guidelines as you create content for your funnel and then as you use different platforms. So those are the things that you want to remember for organic and paid. And in terms of paid social media, this can be anything from boosted posts to targeted ads on Facebook or Pinterest or Snapchat, whichever platform that you prefer and have found the most beneficial, and you're actually spending advertising dollars to push your content further than the organic audience that's naturally following you. Next, and another really big important one, is content marketing. So content marketing really falls into that category of SEO, search engine optimization. Building out content that you are able to use on your website that's not only relevant in terms of keywords, but relevant to the problems that your consumers are currently having. So first and foremost, you can begin to create blog posts on your site. So in the top of the funnel, we had talked about partnering in blog posts with other companies and having them directing traffic to you. But this blog post creation we're talking about here is long and short form articles that are written and published to your personal website. So here, if we are still talking about, of course, the skincare brand, this is where I might want to speak about any of the ingredients that make up my products. Maybe I work with local farmers or local distributors, and they are the ones that provide me with the ingredients that I make to use my products. Here, maybe I'll want to highlight them, if really showcasing that I am a local business, everything that I use is eco-friendly and sustainable. If that's something that's really important to, like I mentioned, EcoEllie, my customer that I'm trying to send through this funnel, then this is something that I would want to focus on. So building content that's going to reinforce that. So that can be, of course, like I mentioned, talking about where I get my ingredients from. This could be the type of packaging I use. Maybe when I deliver any of my products, I use as minimal packaging as possible. Maybe it's even the types of bottles I use, and talking about how I no longer use plastic and I simply only use glass for all of my bottles. if I do any collaborations and do any donations back to the community or to organizations that I think are something that would attract my audience, this is where I'd want to create that content. And again, this blog post content that you create on your website is something that can be reshared to multiple platforms. And it's something that if other people feel like they resonate with, can also share on their own platforms. Next would be to create interactive content. So this can be quizzes, calculators, any quality content that provides value to your target audience. So like I mentioned, we did create a quiz for one of our clients on their website. And this was used so that we could really determine what type of styles, what type of colors, prints, cuts, and things that were preferred by the customers that were coming through. Not all of them actually purchased after doing the quiz and getting their recommended product, but from there we were able to gather the data on what people were most interested in. So in terms of the skincare business that I would be running and sending my customer through, in terms of a quiz, one thing that I just can think of off the top of my head is to maybe quiz them on what their daily routine is, so that I can figure out, okay, I've noticed that in amongst this group of people, these types of products are the most important within their daily routine. Maybe 100 people that answer the quiz all said moisturizer. So this might be something that I want to focus on, and offering maybe promos or deals or gearing more content around that. And next would be infographic copy and design. So creating attractive, insightful infographics that are easy to understand and share. So creating things like this and making sure that they're easy to understand and share makes it so that if any person that is coming in contact with your brand and engaging with your brand, it's easy for them to share it with their audiences. Of course, on all social media platforms, we all understand that it is a place to share. It's to share things about your personal life, to share things you like, share companies, brands, and endorse all of these different things. So when you're able to condense down information about your product or service in a way that anybody can understand it, they don't have to be an expert within your industry, that makes it easier for them to want to share, because they feel now that they might know somebody who could definitely benefit from this. So the reason why I also picked these tactics for the middle of the funnel is because I truly do feel that social media, even if you folks don't know how to do paid, organic is something that everybody is capable of learning and capable of becoming really great at, as well as making your own content. There are so many different resources now online on YouTube that can help you to be able to create these strategies in-house if you have a much more conservative marketing budget. In terms of my skincare line, I did this because I have people on my team who can execute the posting and the commenting strategies. And then of course, my plan is to try to create content about these products myself to show them in the most organic way possible. And then eventually I'd want to use user-generated content that maybe people are sharing themselves about my product. So in this stage of the middle funnel, we went from shouting out into the void to now people are talking to me. So somebody has heard everything that I've been shouting, and they're actually, instead of just shouting, people are now responding back to me. So from here, now that we have people that are responding, that is going to lead us into the bottom of the funnel. So the bottom of the funnel, of course, where we convert customers and drive revenue growth. So this is where you're going to want to set up your email marketing campaigns. You're going to want to have personalized and automated emails that continue to pursue your customers. So within the top of the funnel and in the middle of the funnel, during that entire time of awareness and lead generation, you're trying to capture as much contact information on your customers as possible. And most times with this, you're gathering their email addresses. And with their email addresses and having them subscribe to your website, you're now able to use email marketing platforms. Some popular ones, of course, are MailChimp. Some people use Constant Contact, Attentive. But any of these platforms would be really great in beginning your email marketing for your company. Because you have these people's email addresses, you know that they've shown interest in your product, and you want to continue to provide value to them through email. So with most email marketing softwares, you can create different automations for different parts of the customer journey that each buyer might be in. So you can set up for buyers who maybe have made it to your site, have scrolled around but haven't really bought anything. You can also make automations for people who have gone all the way to checkout and then have abandoned cart, and still you know that they're interested in the product, but maybe they forgot that they had their cart still sitting there. Maybe it was more of a financial reason. But from there, once you send back these emails, these automated emails, from there, once you see the data come back, you'll be able to tell what may have caused them to stop in their journey. And maybe that's where you would issue out more emails and change up the content that's within each email. Next would be social ads. So I chose to do social ads, specifically retargeting ads. So with Facebook has really amazing retargeting features, and anybody that has come to your website, you can add a Facebook pixel to your website and make it so that anybody who has come, you will then show your content from your website on their social media channels for the next 30 days. So from Facebook and Instagram to Snapchat and Pinterest, your audience is going to spend a lot of hours on social media, and you just need to find out what platforms they're on. You can use these platforms and their audiences to not only get your ads seen, but to get your audience to care, and without draining ad spend. So social media advertising is probably one of the most cost-effective methods of advertising right now, in terms of any other digital ads. Pay-per-click, Google ads are going to be a little bit more pricey versus social media ads. And of course, with social ads, when you do run them, you set your daily budget of how much you actually want to spend. And not only that, you can also pause or end your advertisement whenever you feel fit. So say you set this budget for $1,000 and you see that your ad is not really performing that well. You can stop the ad, stop spending money, look at the data, figure out why it's not converting well. And then from there, you can make the necessary adjustments that you need. So this brings us to the absolute bottom of the funnel. So initially when we had shown the first funnel in our slides, it went down into a triangle this way and then had another triangle further for nurturing and advocacy. So retaining. So these are the customers who have converted, of course, and are still continuing to drive revenue growth for your company. However, these people have showed that they are brand advocates. They're loyal to your company, they believe in the product or service that you're offering, and they want to show and tell their friends, anybody they know, about this. These are the people that you want to reward. So the best way to do this is, of course, with loyalty programs. So customer loyalty programs are incentives that companies use to get people to return to their store or website. And rather than attracting new customers, you can create customer loyalty programs to reward your current ones. So of course, it is much more expensive to continuously gain new customers than it is to actually nurture, retain, and maintain the current customers that you do have that are loyal to your brand. So a loyalty program that I could set up in terms of the skincare brand could be that with every purchase, you make so many points that can then be used on the site for store credit. You can send special gifts on holidays or on their birthdays. I subscribe to certain companies that on my birthday and on Christmas, they send free products. There's a lot of different incentives that you can use, but I think that this one is really important because if you see someone continuously supporting you and really being a cheerleader for your brand, you want to make sure that you're rewarding them and that you're thanking them so that they continue to want to stay with your brand. Because of course, there is always going to be competitors out there. There's always going to be new brands coming out with new products. So how can we make sure that we're taking care of our people that are constantly supporting our brand? So just constantly think of ways that you can retain them. And I feel like the first and the easiest route to start off with is loyalty programs. And even with these loyalty programs, there are a lot of different plugins that you can use for your website that can track all of this for you. And make it so that if they do reach a certain threshold, they have spent a certain amount, have been a client for this long, it'll track all of that data, one that you can use, but also so that it's distributing these prizes, these gifts, and these incentives that you've set for your customers. Next, we're going to go into more tips of how to optimize your sales funnel and the tactics that you have selected for the different parts of your sales funnel. So of course, you want to use the data to optimize. As you look at the data and identify what worked well and for who, you can begin to refine and optimize your funnel. So you want to analyze each of these tactics that you implemented, and you want to see whether you met the KPIs or not. So any type of digital platform or app that you might use for any of these tactics, each of them come with analytical dashboards. Every social media channel has one. They have their free versions, but there could also be other platforms, third-party platforms that you can connect your profiles to that may give you more robust data that can see more things that maybe you can't see on your Instagram app or your Facebook app. All of your email marketing campaigns, these all come with dashboards as well. It can tell you how many people you sent to, how many people actually opened it, and then from actually opening your email, who then took action to your site, clicked through, and even purchased. So these are the things that you're going to want to constantly look at, and not at the end when you've finally reached your goal. This is something you're going to want to keep looking at throughout the duration of your sales funnel. So maybe that's something you work into your measurable goal and stating that every week, bi-weekly, or month, you are checking up on this data and making sure that everything is moving forward and that you're inching closer and closer towards the goal that you've set. And for the data, like we mentioned earlier, establishing those KPIs are very important because most of these analytical dashboards are going to have a ton of information. And while all of it is useful to look at, you want to make sure that you've pinpointed very specific key measures that you're tracking for success. So another tip is to get your leads to sort themselves out. So you have all of these people finding out about your business, and you aren't going to be in complete control of who finds this information because, of course, the way the internet works is that once you put something out there, it's open for anyone and everyone to see. So some people that find it may be a part of your target audience, and then some people may not. So your content, while it will be diverse and maybe it'll talk about different products, maybe different values of the company or of the brand because you're at the top of the funnel, you want to make sure that whatever content you're building up there, it directly relates to what you actually want people to convert on in the bottom of the sale. So an example, I create these basic box sets for my skincare line, and it comes with an array of 4 to 5 different products that I deemed as essential to skincare. And I'm going to want to create content that's based on the perfect morning routine for everyday life. That's going to push my customers towards wanting to buy this entire box of products versus one. But because I am also promoting this entire box, it has all these individual products in it as well. So it's serving a greater purpose. Not only am I pushing my brand forward, I'm pushing multiple products forward, but I'm also making it so that when they get to the end of the funnel, even if they may not be interested in, say, the entire skincare regimen, because I've built my content around speaking about this entire box and each product in it that's going to be beneficial for whoever's using it, if they want to take out one product, say a moisturizer or a toner, they can buy these things separately. But essentially, all the content that I'm making up here is driving them down here to convert and to purchase something from my site. Another option for getting your leads to sort themselves out would be maybe even creating a checklist if that's relevant or works for your business. For this example, I could put a checklist on my website that if you fill it out, you can get 10%. So I could have people check off what they are currently using in their morning skincare regimen. So I'm asking my customers to tell me what is it that you're currently using every single day in your skincare regimen. And from there, seeing that data, if a lot of people answer the same, this group of people that answered in this specific way, I can base all of the content that I sent to them or the way I push them down through the funnel is making sure that the product that I'm pushing them towards or the service that I'm pushing them towards makes sense in relation to what it is that they said that they liked. And lastly, aside from a checklist, you can also have your customers fill out a survey. And this can be a lot more generalized about your business, but just really understanding what it is that they like as a customer, what they might be interested in the future, some things they do like about your brand, maybe dislikes about your brand, but really understanding what it is that they would like as a customer. So if you want to have the best results from the exposure that you're getting, then of course you want to make sure that when you're opting in and gathering these leads from your email capture, that you're knowing what to sell to them, because you may be getting leads for multiple products or services. So you want to make sure that the way you're nurturing your customer is correct and you're leading them towards the right product. You want to make sure that your lead gen, opt-in offer, and content that's being pushed out within the middle of the funnel is going to be directly related to the conversion part of the funnel and what you actually want them to buy. So the next tip is to use a tripwire to warm up your leads. So this is going to be somewhere along the lines between the middle of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel, like the really, really sweet spot right in between the two. And this is what can help to take your relationship to the next level with your customers who may be on the fence right now of, should I buy this product? Is it the right product for me? And maybe comparing you to another competitor. A tripwire is a loss leader. It is going to be a product or service that's given to customers for less than the cost, or it has a big value for a low price. And when someone goes and purchases this loss leader, it's a strong indicator that they are interested in this product and they're interested in your company. So these people are going to be hot leads and you want to make sure that you nurture them. So for example, this could be someone that signs up for your email list. They get taken to a thank you page that has a special offer for a product that's, say, normally $100, but right now it only costs $60. So because you have given them this discount, or say for instance, you might have given them something for free, you now have established a transactional relationship with this customer. They're going to be able to receive whatever they bought and be able to use it, see it, feel it, see your branding in the palm of their hand. They'll be able to, if it's a service, actually experience what it's like to do a service with your business. And from there, if, although maybe either for free or for a discount, if they do actually like the product, later when you ask them to buy it for full price, or you ask them to buy products that are similar at full price, they're going to be more inclined to do so because they've already had that initial introduction to your product. So after going through our sales funnel, this is the image that I showed in the beginning, but this is just reiterating everything that you are bringing your customer through. So where they become a viewer and a visitor, a fan or a follower, that'll be in the top of the funnel. So this is, of course, the awareness phase. This is where you're gonna do all of your more general education bits so that people can learn more about your brand. We understand that the people at this point in the funnel aren't necessarily ready to buy. They don't really know who your brand is, but they're kind of becoming familiar. And this is where you just want to continuously educate, and provide value. And then of course we go into the middle of the funnel, which is the consideration portion of the funnel. So this is going to be your website visitors, your content readers, and your lead generation. This is where you're going to want to have all those blogs, that custom content marketing that we talked about, video tutorials, making sure that your website is optimized for these keywords that people are searching. This is where you're going to want to share your customer stories, anything that you feel that strengthens your product or brand in comparison to your competition. This is the part of the funnel where you're going to want to share it. This is also the portion of the funnel where you're going to have those lead magnets and landing pages. So sometimes what a lot of people like to do is, aside from their actual website, they will build an additional landing page that they're going to send all of this traffic to. And that specific landing page is going to capture and gather data on all of the people that are specifically interested in whatever this landing page is built around, whether it be a specific product or a specific service. Then next, that will lead us into the golden stage, which is of course the bottom of your funnel. So that's the conversion, loyalty, and advocacy. And this is where they go from a lead to a prospect, then to a customer, to a repeat customer, and then a brand advocate. And on this diagram, it kind of shows the ways you can take them from prospect to brand advocacy again. So of course the prospect, maybe this is where you offer the free mini courses, events, the sales offer. This is where that tripwire lead is where we were talking about. This is where you can implement that to get people from a prospect to a customer. Once they become a customer, this is where you start to incorporate those loyalty offers, those loyalty programs, and really begin to nurture them as a customer of your brand. And then they become a repeat customer. Repeat customers, this is where you're gonna wanna ask for reviews. And this is where you're gonna wanna send them a lot of nurturing emails, and it's a different forum so that they can continue to advocate for your product. And then we go into brand advocacy, and this is gonna be fan UGC contests. So like with the skincare company that I talked about in our example, this is where once they have the product, they can begin sharing on their social platforms about what they love the best about our products, what they love the best maybe about a service if you're a service-based business. And then this is also where you can incorporate brand advocates for content influencers. So people that are influential within the space and make sense for your product, this is where you can incorporate them. And one thing that I want to touch on with influencers, for a lot of businesses, I think people oftentimes look at the number of followers that someone might have. And while it's important for them to have a large following, you really want to pay attention to more so the engagement that happens on their profile and also the type of audience that they attract. And you want to make sure that they have a high engagement. People actually they have a strong community. They listen to any of the advice that this influencer gives. You see that people are actually buying the product from this influencer. You want to make sure it's not just someone who has a high number of followers. They might post about your product, but no one actually takes any action. And then also you want to maybe track that portion with some type of code so that you can see if that influencer that you're working with is actually beneficial to your company. So by looking at this funnel, one thing I want to note is that everything in the funnel is equally important. It's important to note that neither one is more important than the other, but in terms of costs, you're likely going to need to allocate the most resources to the bottom of the funnel or the conversion part of the funnel. And this is because this is where you're in the last leg and you're really getting people to commit to your brand, to take that next step. And usually this is where you're going to have to allocate more resources. So of course, if you did that sale or that tripwire lead, it doesn't come at no cost. It is something that your business is going to have to give in order to get. But just really focusing on that section and understanding that that's where you'll have to spend the most money versus the top or middle of the funnel. So one thing is that, to reiterate again about how they're all equally important, is you want to avoid spending too much time on a single stage. So if you focus too much on the top of the funnel strategies, you're not going to drive enough conversions and won't help your business to grow. So of course, if you're doing all of these different strategies that are bringing people into the funnel and you're spending all of your money just gaining more and more people, you have 10,000 people come through, say, your funnel. But because you're focusing so much at the top, you've neglected and failed to really nurture the bottom. So all those people that are coming in, they're just going right back out because there's nothing, they don't know what to do after that part of the journey, after they've learned about who your company is. And then also, if you focus too much on the funnel's bottom, you won't grow your traffic. And again, you won't help the business to grow. So even though you may have to spend a little bit more money in the conversion or the bottom of the funnel, you want to make sure that you're not only focusing on the nurturing and the conversions, but you're also making sure that you're still getting in those new leads. So it has to be a very healthy balance between all of the funnels and making sure that each system you're allocating enough time and resources to all of them. So you want to think holistically, and of course when you build this customer journey from start to finish, you want to make sure that it flows consistently. So kind of how we mentioned before, when we have customer A and B, this chart right here just simply lays out the different ways that this customer interacted in the sales funnel. So if we look over to customer A in the green, we see that they found the business through SEO. So through the search engine, through keywords. That's how they found out about your brand and now have been introduced to them. From there, that would lead them to your blog section. They're reading about your blogs, they're kind of learning more about your products or services, and then from there that takes them to a form to fill something out about your brand. That form takes them to your social, and then from your social back to your demo. So you can see that in this customer journey, they didn't necessarily go straight from top to middle. They kind of bounced back and forth, and sometimes this will happen depending on who that audience is and what their preferred platforms are. So this person went back to social to kind of check out and learn more about the business. Your social media definitely is going to act like your PR. People are going to go there to see what people are saying about your business, what your business looks like, how it interacts on these social platforms. And then from there, we can see the customer went from the social to a demo. So they probably liked what they saw on your social. The content was engaging, it was educating, and it was entertaining, and they want to learn more. So now they're doing a demo for your product or service. And now that they're in this demo phase, you've been able to capture them as a lead. So you have more information on them. You probably have their email address, and from there they've been added to your CRM. So your CRM is, of course, your customer relationship management system. And this is where you have all the information of your customer, and they've converted and they've now purchased your product or service. And then from there, we can see that that customer went from there and then they became a loyal advocate, and now we are trying to get them to do an upsell on the product. And then if we looked at customer B, which is in the blue, their journey, although they both started in the same funnel, was a lot different from this journey that customer A did take. So customer B actually found out about your business through pay-per-click. So they started with pay-per-click, they went directly to product specific. So this person was probably actively searching for something very specific. Your ad came up, it was the first thing they saw, they clicked on it, and that went specifically to a product page that solved whatever it is they were looking for. They seen the product, they probably wanted to learn more on what it is, what it can do. Is it something that I should be buying? Is it right for me? So that leads into the video. This video has a ton of tips or tricks or how to use the product. It gives them more information about what it is that they could potentially be purchasing. From here, that leads them to a quote. So now they've purchased your product. They are now leaving back a quote saying that they love the brand, they love the product. They're leaving reviews on whatever platforms you might be pushing them to because they've purchased your product or service and they've liked it so much. They've now provided your company with a quote. And from here, that leads them into being a loyal and brand advocate. So they are really going in and giving you reviews and testimonials. And this differs from customer A, as you can see, because customer A, rather than doing reviews and testimonials, we've chosen to offer them an upsell. So more products or services that would be something that they would be interested in. So looking at this, you can see that although you're going to send a bunch of people through your funnel, those customer personas that you develop in the beginning are going to take different journeys. And as they take these different journeys, you can note what is working and what's not working. And maybe like customer A, we can see how they might have backtracked between top to middle, back to top, and then back to middle. So maybe there's somewhere in that portion where we can get them to just continuously go through the funnel rather than reverting back to the top stage. So these are things you're really going to want to look at and fine tune as time goes on. And that was all of my presentation. Now I'd like to open it up for Q&A and also just discuss more deeply into maybe whose company currently right now is using any type of digital sales funnel or who might be interested in offering a digital sales funnel to their customers.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. Thank you, Taylor. That was amazing. Really so detailed, so much to do. um, I just had a question about the blogs.
Mhm.
So when you say online sources, so where do you find, how do you get your blog out there, in other words, like if you're going to be writing blogs?
Yes, of course. Okay, so for the blog content, if you want to get it out onto other people's platforms or websites, first you can start off by looking at in your industry, are there any current leaders or review platforms that people are constantly going to? So with our travel or hospitality companies that we work with, one of them is a tubing company. We use blogs as a form to promote ourselves on places like LA Times or culture trips or beautiful destinations. And these are places that they are building out and constantly looking for content for their website.
Hmm.
And our service or offering fits what it is that they're trying to promote to their customers. So that's one. And that's more of, I would say, those are more of like organizations, companies, or businesses that focus on promoting whatever it is that your company might be offering. The other
Hmm.
is actually looking for influencers. So people that are really knowledgeable within the space. So again, with the travel company, we'll work with actual travel influencers who do write-ups on different places and different tours because their audience is specifically looking to them to figure out what to do. And when I get
Hmm.
there, to this place that you've recommended, what are the best activities for me to do? What's the price? How did you feel when you did the experience? They can share a bunch of different things, but this is how you're going to want to use blogs to be able to drive that traffic ultimately back to your site. So it's just
So
more
are
of these
you
outside sources endorsing you.
so are you providing them content, or are they just linking to your content?
So with
Basically
that,
like a
it can be a
backlink.
mix. So for some of the people that we work with at the travel company, of course, it'll be for a trade. So they come on tour, they do the tour for free. So if you had a product or service, maybe that's something they could try out for free. And then from there, they actually create a blog post, a long form blog post about your content, endorsing whatever it is that they tried out, giving their honest review. And then in there, they're actually going to link back to your product anytime you talk
Hmm.
about it.
Hmm.
But the one thing that I want to note is anytime you have somebody else writing about your company and linking back to your site, you want to make sure that whatever keyword they're actually hyperlinking, so you know when it turns blue and has the line under it, you want to make sure that that specific word is a keyword that you're trying to rank for. So a lot of times people don't really know that you're supposed to do this, and when somebody writes about them, they'll actually make the hyperlink their website. So it'd be www.quebackcountry.com, which we don't need to gain more traffic in that because people, of course, if they're searching quebackcountry.com, they're already going to our site. So maybe our keyword strategy is actually Kauai trips, mountain tubing, Kauai adventures. These are the things that we want to hyperlink in that passage that they're writing about us and have those links directly point towards the pages that we want it to. It'll help to strengthen your domain and also help to strengthen each individual page as well.
So even if it's a keyword,
Mhm.
Google's going to consider that a backlink?
Yes.
Okay.
So keywords. So the backlinks are going to be, of course, the link to your website. So anytime they're going to hyperlink that, you're basically telling Google, this person is the one to go to for this keyword. And then it's pointing
Okay.
in that direction because it's the same way the internet works the same way with word of mouth. So with your website, I definitely want to say you want to optimize as best as you can in terms of keywords. Design and user experience is extremely important, of course, for front facing. So if you or I were to actually engage with the website, but on the back end with the keywords and any links that you get, that is what any search engine is looking at. So you want to make sure that all your keywords are relevant and optimized, but also that maybe any links that you might be getting, it's from credible sites too. So you want to stray away from, you could run into those things on Google where it's like purchase this now and get 20 links to your site, but it's a ton of websites that are spam sites. And if you have a site that has a high spam score and they're pointing towards your site, you're going to get docked because it's telling Google that this is not a credible source and you may be trying to, manipulate the way the internet is. You paid for these leads. So it's definitely, you want to get good quality leads from people in your industry that are certified to speak on this topic or whatever it is they're pointing to.
And could you just touch on another thing that I'm a little confused about? Can you talk about the difference between a landing page and your website? Like, where do you use them? How many should you have? How do you use them?
Okay, perfect. So essentially, any page that you have on your website is technically a landing page because it's a page that your customer, you're driving them to, that they're going to essentially land on. But a lot of times, what people will do is, I've seen them, they have their main website, which we'll just say, like for us, is www.jacksoncommunications.com. We were working, actually, another example is we were working with an air conditioning company and they had their main site, but he had this one promo that he wanted to run and capture leads on. And it was, if you went to this landing page and you signed up on this specific landing page that we created for them to be able to track the data, you were going to be able to get a free maintenance with your purchase of an AC system. So he wanted to see how many people that would actually interest if they signed up for, or if they were offering this free maintenance package for X amount of years. Did that drive more traffic versus having them just go to the website and just see how the product is normally presented? And
Okay.
usually the landing page you're going to want to use for a specific amount of time. So it'll be for a very specific offer. You don't want to just leave it up forever. So if you're driving for a specific campaign for a specific product, you can make
And
that.
how do
Or
you
you
create a
can,
landing page? Is it like a separate
Mhm.
program or a
So they do have softwares that you can create landing pages on. And that's something you can look up and put in the resources. Or if you want to, you can just use any page that already currently exists within your website. The
and
landing
just
page,
link
I
to
would
it?
say, would be more for a customized specific offer that you're really trying to drive just to that. And the only thing you want them to do is go to this offer. Because a lot of times, if you are driving them to your website, while that's really great, they are going to kind of comb through the website, maybe move around, go here, click this link here. But with the landing page, you're telling your customer exactly what you want them to do. You want them to see this offer and you want them to fill this out. There's nothing else that they can go to.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I wanted to piggyback from a design perspective. When you do a landing page, I recommend that be as gorgeous as if it's your home page. You don't want
Yes.
it to look like an internal page on your website. It could be that this is the only page that they've ever seen before, so you want it to be as awesome as your main home page.
Yes. And to go off of what Laura said, kind of like how I was talking about those brand standards, make sure anytime you are creating more pieces of content or something like a landing page, that everything is still branded correctly and it's recognizable. And if people go to this landing page, they're not going to be like, oh, is this the same company or is this one of those spammy third party things? So just make sure that your brand is cohesive and consistent throughout.
While we wait for somebody else to have a question, I wanted to add something else, which is about if you're writing your own content, I highly recommend that you pitch your blogs or your articles to anybody who will listen to you, because people have a conception that journalists are like sitting at their computer like, where's the story? They're like looking for a story. It's like, no, they sit there and they read the press releases and they read your emails, and most everything you read in the news is been submitted by somebody else. So a journalist loves it when you do the writing for them. So don't be shy. And the worst thing they can do is say no. They're not going to be like, oh, we're going to start telling people what a terrible company you are. They're just going to keep reading until you finally give them a pitch that they like. So don't be shy. Get people, if you're writing, get people to spread it for you.
She is so right about that. Just send it out because a lot of times these people are looking for content. They can't possibly create all of this content on their own. Most content is shared and brought from someone else. With a lot of our clients, we'll shoot the content out to a bunch of different tour outlets that we think are relevant. Some don't respond, but that's just all it is. They just don't respond. But you want to keep sending it because eventually you're going to get that person that picks it up and finds it interesting. Even your local news outlets, you can send things to. Our local news outlet, the Garden Island, they're constantly looking for content because they are a lot smaller, and I would say that not so much happens on our island all the time. They're often looking for things that they can post about. So if you are sending them content, and this doesn't have to be a direct advertisement for your product, this could just be like more of an elaborative story around your product or your brand, but
I have a
something that's
question.
interesting or entertaining.
How do you find those lists? How do you find, like, do you just start picking them up, or are there places where you can actually buy mailing lists and things like that?
There are places that you can actually buy mailing lists from. I've never used it before. It's the only thing that worries me sometimes about purchasing things is you don't actually know if it's credible or not. It works in the same way as I'm sure we've all come across a lot of influencers, and it'll say that they have 2 million followers. And then you go through their posts and then you realize that they only get like 26 likes, two comments. So something's not adding up, right? And when you purchase emails, it could work in the same way that some of them could be real, some of them could also be fake. But the best way to
Um,
start is
oh,
which industry are you in again, and what type of business do you have?
You're muted, Joelle.
Oh, sorry, Joel, you're muted.
I make skincare, so I really appreciated today's presentation.
Oh,
Thank you very
perfect.
much.
So for skincare, I mean, one good thing to look up is try to look at beauty influencers. Maybe start there. And then you can see from their blog that they might have worked with larger companies too that are just within this realm. So Goop is one of them. That's by Gwyneth Paltrow, and she writes on a ton of different things. She even picked up an article for the tubing company that we work with because it was part of her
Mm.
travel segment of her website. But you want to look in these different areas. So influencers could be the way to start, and then you could also just look up um, just other types of blogs that are within skincare. Do a Google search, and then you can find a couple and just start from there and just shoot out your content. And some of it could be either you're just giving them, this pre-made blog with the content ready to go. Other times it could be sending people something direct and being like, "Hi, I would love for you to try out this product, and if you love it, please reach out to me, and then we can work out a contract there." Something like that. But getting them to take that next step sometimes can mean sending product. We've done that with one of our clients who she makes jellies and jams and syrups. We made PR boxes that we sent out to specific influencers that we were watching them over time, and they had already purchased things from our brand. And we thought, oh, why don't we actually send them products so that they can make some more content and actually drive traffic to our website? So that's what we did. And we had a really great response from it. A lot of them are actually just really grateful too because they've already been buying your product. So maybe looking at your customers too, maybe some of them do have
Yeah.
a blog. Maybe some of them do have a large social media following, and you can start there.
oh, so
Thank you.
when you sent out the PR boxes to the influencers, the food bloggers, did
Mhm.
those convert to sales?
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
some of
So there
them
was
will
good.
usually do it with a code. So with this influencer, if you buy with using code like Taylor10, it lets us know that okay, this influencer, she sent over this traffic and this is how much we got from them. You're going to want to find some way, of course, to track if you are working with influencers or collaborations in any way, because you want to make sure that, of course, you're not just giving them the free product just to give them a free product. You want to see that this collaboration or partnership is beneficial. Not to say that
Yes,
you
we have.
can't send free product. I've seen a lot of companies do it where they send free product in hopes that the influencer or person will post about whatever it is that you sent them, and then that will end up on their social channels. But if you want something that's more long term, you could try to actually like work out a contract with them and send them PR
Okay.
boxes where they actually create content around it. You give them a special code, so anybody that's actually following them is purchasing, but they get a discount. So it'll be usually something minimal, like 10 to 15%. But even though you're giving this little percentage away, that's to say that they're driving a lot of traffic to the site for you.
Um, hey, I had a question regarding like social media posts. Is there a rule of thumb of how many a week is to post?
So how many a week? Okay, that's something that's kind of tricky. You're going to want to look at your back end and see kind of how your posts are performing in your analytics dashboard. And the only reason I'm saying that is because before, when things were in chronological order, that's how the algorithm was based off. I would say that it was better to be like, okay, I'm going to post 4 or 5 times a week at this time. But now that the algorithm has changed, a lot of it is, while it is based on recency, it's more so about being relevant to whoever your consumer is. And is this the type of content that they've engaged with in the past? So with one of our clients that we started with, they are a boating company. They do boat tours. And when we first started with them, we just did a few test runs of the amount of times that we posted. And we started with 5, and we actually realized that when we were posting 5 times a week, the engagement dropped overall in all the posts. And a lot of this can sometimes be too dependent on how much different types of content you have and how new the content is. If you are constantly producing new and refreshing content that they haven't seen before, then I would say push out some more content. But if it's going to be a lot of UGC that tends to look the same, people are just going to be like, oh, it's just another one of those posts. And they're going to scroll past because it's something that they've already seen throughout the week. So you want to keep it as entertaining, engaging, and as educating as possible.
Okay, yeah. So you mentioned about the 3 E's um, in social media. So with the 3 E's in the same post,
Mm-hmm.
And then asking followers to sign up for an offer, is that in the post or is that in a reply? Where do you
Okay, so for
embed
the
it?
3 E's, with that, so that's just, you want to make sure that any piece of content that your company pushes out on your social media channels, it meets that criteria. So it's educating them about something, whether it's that specific product directly or about your brand. And I don't mean like literal words on top of the post, but the imagery or what video, whatever it is that you're using, is educating them about your brand, product, or service. You want it to be entertaining. Of course, people go to social media because they want to be entertained. They want to see something funny. They want to see something, maybe they want to see something cute. Like whatever it is that they're going there for, they're going to social media because they're bored in what they're currently doing and they need to find something to buy some time. So you want to make sure that it's entertaining. And then you also want to make sure that it's engaging. So not only are they enjoying this piece of content, in some way they're going to actually take that next step and maybe comment something on your post, whether it's just emojis or they're actually commenting a full blown question or comment on your post. You want to make sure that it hits these 3 things. And, when you push it out, you might see back that, okay, people didn't really like that post. But then that's letting you know that, okay, this post is typically not the content that maybe my followers want to see. So really look over time, like what content of yours is performing well. So I know that you're with Wine Sun, so you could look at, are the lifestyle images doing really well? The ones of people, families at their cookouts, like things that people that can resonate with. Is that what they like the best? Or is it our more, you know, crafted photo shoots where it's models and you can clearly tell that it's a stage photo, but whatever it may be, maybe they like the models in the photo, the quality of the photos is what they are attracted to. That content might do the best. Or if it's just product photos that do the best, so you'll want to look and see what is it that people are liking, and you can tell this by likes and engagement.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would also piggyback to check out your Google Analytics for when they're visiting you. Because you might think, oh, everybody's doing social media when they get home, but maybe you look at your analytics, it turns out they're sneaking in and checking you out while they're at work. So you want to figure out when your audience is actually engaging with you and then move your social media posting around until you know they're there.
And that's really important for people whose customer base may not be in the same time zone as you as well. Because we're based in Hawaii, sometimes it can be easy to assume that, oh, all of my customers are only in Hawaii. They may be elsewhere. They could be on the East Coast. So you really want to think of things like that for a lot of our clients, because the audience that they have is tourists, travel pre-arrivals. A lot of them are on different time zones. So we don't post at the normal time you would post if you were targeting somebody in Hawaii, because at that point our audience is either working, sleeping, or just not engaged on social at that time.
while we wait for another question, I just wanted to comment on mailing lists, because there are two ways basically that you can do it. Yes, you can buy a mailing list, and all the things that Taylor said about being careful are absolutely accurate. However, there is a company that we use here in Hawaii that's consistently given us good mailing lists. So there are some good people that will provide you with good content, and that's fine. Building one organically, you want to find out who are all the publications in your industry, who are all the bloggers in your industry. And you just sit down and you get yourself Excel or Access or some kind of spreadsheet, or in constant contact, wherever it is that you're doing your marketing. And you just do the work of finding the name of the company, finding out who's the person that would be writing, either the editor or writer, about your industry, your product, your service. And then you just keep working on it, and you keep coming back and checking it, because new magazines are always cropping up. So it is a little bit work intensive, but if you do it that way, then you're getting exactly who you want on your list.
Yeah, to what Laura said, for looking for those really strong influencers or PR hits that you want, it is going to take some work. Like, you're really going to want to do your research as well to reiterate or to actually make sure that this person is right for your brand. But the great thing is, like, once you actually start to gain some traction and you work with more people, you'll see a lot more people start to reach out to you, because then they realize, oh, okay, this brand does work with influencers. They do want to do collaborations. Or this brand, for the outlets, the media outlets, they may be like, oh, a lot of people are sharing with this brand. I'm seeing a lot of people interested in it. I want this traffic to my site too, so I'm going to pick this up.
And don't send people crap. Excuse my language. But if an editor keeps getting just a press release, that's just self-serving and isn't going to provide their readers with any content, they're going to start to ignore your emails, because you're just wasting their time. But if you consistently give them something great, like my boss, picks up the phone to call somebody at Hawaii News Now, like she has their cell phone numbers, and they instantly return her calls, because they know she doesn't give them junk, and that she probably has a good story. So, and that's, of course, 30 years in the business. But be really good and careful about what you're sending people, so that they see you as somebody who's providing them great content and making their life easier. If you're not sure that it's great, don't send it. You can always combine things into one statement, press release, blog, story, whatever it is you're doing, rather than water it down with something that's not strong enough to suggest.
Yeah, that kind of like ties into what I was saying about social media. It's better to do quality versus to just send something because you feel like you need to send something out. Because people won't become disinterested in you if they don't hear from you or see you. But if they constantly see things they don't like coming from you, that's when you're going to lose them. And rule of thumb too, like, if you're posting something, make sure you like it as well. Because if you don't like it and it's coming from your profile, then you can probably guess that your audience won't like it. There's some of new clients that come to us and they're like, I just posted something, but I don't even really like it. And I'm just like, that's why it's not doing good, because initially you don't even like it. So why would the audience like anything that you're posting? So that's something to think about aside from the 3 E's too.
And pay attention to your most popular posts, because if something really takes off, that's something you should boost into an ad.
With one of our clients, actually, for the tubing company, we were working on trying to figure out what content was performing the best. And we also produce photo and video, our company. So we did like this really amazing, elaborate video that showcased the zip lining and the tubing, and it was all high quality POV. And then we pushed that out as an ad. But then we had an influencer come on who he did a lot of things within the travel industry, and it was literally just his phone with a waterproof case, point of view, him sitting in the tube, spinning around. It was all of 20 seconds. That performed so well that actually, so he posted it, and then it got picked up by multiple media outlets. And from that post, it actually increased our following by almost 4,000 followers. But from there, we can kind of see, okay, we thought that it's good to have high quality content, but we realized, okay, for this platform, this is actually what the viewers wanted to see. They wanted to see real point of view, what am I going to experience when I'm on this tour?
And this is something that I'll bring up in the content marketing class, but everything does not have to be perfect and professional and polished. People like real, because then they know they're not being sold to. This is somebody who actually had that tubing experience, and that's why it did so well, because this was like a real person with a real experience. And maybe the photography wasn't perfect or whatever, and people also like if you mess up a little or if you're real. So lighten up a little. You can also do the gorgeous professional stuff, because that's always fun to watch.
Yeah, content that's not generally heavily produced is usually more relatable to the user as well, because they realize, okay, this is just a normal person that's doing what it is that I'm potentially interested in. This is exactly what I'm going to see. This is exactly how it looks. There's no filters. It's not a really perfect image or video of it. I think social media has grown over time. I think initially those types of images that were a lot more curated did really well, but now because of the rise of it's just a boom, and you see so much content all the time, and you realize, okay, a lot of this was premeditated and it doesn't actually speak to me as a consumer. I want to know what people actually think and what they're actually experiencing in terms of the service or product. Does anybody have any more questions in terms of the digital sales funnel, or even some questions from our last class, if you had some time to think about it and maybe have some questions about that?
I did. I tried to do the homework and I didn't understand it. And I thought part of it might be because I'm not able to join when you first start. But in the part where it's talking about digital marketing tactics, like I was really trying to go through it, but I didn't understand what was being asked of us and what to do with that part. So I'm wondering if that's something that we will learn or touch on when we do the one-on-ones.
This is actually something I'm going to ask Laura about, because I don't know what the homework is actually.
Right. I was about to explain to Taylor what's happening. So one thing we're doing, since this cohort doesn't have assignments, if you put out an assignment in the last cohort, we're letting all these attendees see what that assignment was. It's not mandatory, but it can give them some guidance, and a lot of these exercises are really helpful. So she's probably confused about something that we might not have addressed yet. So if you can remember what your assignment was in that particular section. Otherwise, yes, I was asking the one-on-one.
Yeah, I was just trying to do it to fill in the gaps because I missed the first half hour. So I thought if I try to do the homework, then I'll kind of catch up.
I can try to help as best as possible with the homework. Do you know what questions on there that you were kind of confused?
It says digital marketing tactics, create marketing campaigns, encouraging word of mouth, personal recommendations to the brand to friends. There's like 5 different tactics that's listed here. And so I was like thinking, am I supposed to craft campaigns? How do I do that? And so, yeah, so I guess my bottom line question is, are we going to do this in the one-on-ones? Because none of this makes sense to me right now.
Laura, is this something they'll do in the one-on-ones?
I'm not sure. So sorry. I should be better prepared for an answer like that.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. We can move on.
Okay.
Does anybody that's currently in the class by chance have an idea of who they think their ideal customer persona is for their business? And doesn't have to be correct. I just wanted to see if anybody from the last session.
Renee, come on. You've got to know who your customer is. Who likes fabulous handbags?
Okay. Well, I guess because I'm still starting my journey right now. I've actually been on this journey for a long time. I know what my brand is, why I'm doing this. And it's a personal story that I have. And basically, it's a period in my life that I needed to get myself out of. It was, I had lost a baby. So it's quite personal. However, so doing my handbags actually got me out of this period that I was in. So it helped me overcome, not really depression, but just a period of sadness and a period of just not having hope, because that's all I could think about was just, okay, I need to have this. Why can't I have this baby? So all of my designs per se, um, our graphic designs are symbolic of things that have helped me through this period. And so it be like perseverance, hope, faith, just anything that, all these inspirational, I guess you would call it, virtues. So I think my customer persona would be just about anybody, I guess, women in general, it doesn't matter what age. I mean, because I think women in their 20s, up until their 60s, could relate, or even older, could relate to just things in general, just overcoming things in general. So I think my persona would be just anybody that can relate to my brand in that respect. And
Renee, just so you know, we're having some kind of connectivity problem. Your voice isn't coming through. Oh, she can't hear me either.
I can say something.
I like the kind of prints that sell, and so I try to stay away from things that maybe are just I guess more of the Hawaiian print, because that's not my brand, or my branding, or my style. So I think in that respect, I kind of want to hit other women who may like other prints other than just the Hawaiiana prints, more fashionable, more luxury type of looking handbags, not necessarily leather, but just fabrics that are like velvet and suede, and you have those fun prints like the leopard prints, or yeah, I think I'm just carrying on right here, but so yeah, so Laura, just getting back to your question, um, I have all these ideas in my head of who my perfect customer would be, and I guess it would be just anybody that I could relate to in that way with my brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I force you to talk about something painful too soon in your journey.
Yeah.
It seems to me that your perfect customer wants to be inspired. So she's probably an Oprah fan, and she probably, you know what I mean? There's magazines that are inspirational, and the books that she reads, and the people that she follows that do inspirational quotes and that sort of thing. But like that, that's your audience. So it's not just the handbags, right? But the emotion and the tone that you're bringing to it, and you're trying to uplift people.
Yes, and you just said it right there. So I have it all in my head. I just now need to bring it all in, hopefully I can bring this out in my branding. And so speaking of blogs and things like that, I've been thinking of just people just maybe, or women just talking about something important in their life, maybe just, yes, it doesn't have to be big, but just something really small, or like an inspirational quote that could just inspire or motivate, or just I can connect with my customers that way.
Hopefully these classes will help you do all of that.
So. But I need help on the marketing end. I mean, this is just overwhelming, to think about, what to post, how am I going to post, what am I going to say, and it might look dumb, or, it's a lot. It's really a lot.
I think that story is really, really important. And I think it's a really beautiful part of the brand, and it represents your products really well. And I think that anybody that wants to buy from you is definitely someone who's an intentional buyer. They want their money to not only go to just any business, they want it to go to real people. They want to support handmade products. They're looking for something maybe locally owned. Um, but they definitely are someone that appreciates people that are taking the time to make whatever it is that they're buying. And I think a lot of times as small business owners, what we like to remind our clients of is that people love to support people. So if you're willing to share your story and it's something that resonates with them, they're going to want to support your brand and buy your products. And I think even sometimes if people don't necessarily buy the product, a lot of them would want to share your story, share your product to their audience, and then from there on, because I think there's a lot of women that can resonate and relate to some of the problems that you've gone through. So I think expressing that and showing, how this business came about from that, and that something beautiful came from this, is something that they will really gravitate towards.
And we've all just spent 2 years. Everybody's experiencing loss on one level or another. It's not your particular grief and pain, but everybody is looking for something that'll lift them up. So your story is important. Okay, you guys, that brings us to 10 o'clock. Taylor, thank you so much. That was wonderful information. This QA was great.
Thank you, everybody, so much for your time and for coming to both of the cohorts.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mahalo. Bye, everybody. Ahui ho. See you next time.